What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to discuss what should we expect from Rocksteady's reveal. Now, we've talked about the big trio. Maybe I'm going to start patenting that. I think it's maybe even one of the first times I've labeled it that. But the Batman Arkham, or let's just say Warner Bros. Montreal's Batman game, Rocksteady's game, who we don't know what that is, and then the Harry Potter game. 3 absolutely gigantic games from Warner Bros. 3 that were supposed to be announced at E3 per Jason Schreier, who I do 1000% believe that. And here's the deal, and we've talked about it a lot in the past. I think they're still going to do something. I think different publishers are still going to have an event around late May, early June. We talked about it. Does it really make sense for them to all do it in like a 3-4 day period? No. Will they probably do it anyway and ruin my life? Yeah, they probably will, and it's the stupidest thing ever, but that's just generally how it works. And with Rocksteady, the question is, well, they've always been secret, right? They've done an amazing job at being very secret. Again, we've talked about it in the past. Jason Schreier, he's never mentioned their game. When he said, the Batman game, Harry Potter, he said that out. I guess he typed it. He didn't actually verbally say it. But he said Rocksteady's new game. So even him, maybe he knows it. I feel like he does know it, but he's not going to say it, probably because of some sort of agreement that they have. But the question is, and so this is a Rocksteady specific video. I like to make these every couple weeks. And if you guys like that, make sure you're letting me know so I can continue making it. But I do like to throw out a Rocksteady video every couple weeks until we get something from them, and then we can make more of them. The thing with Rocksteady is, and again, we've talked about it before, what do you do with these games, okay? Because they all are going to, in a way, actually, because they'd all be announced at the same event, this is factually true, they will all overlap. They're all going to be announced, which, again, is a bad, in my opinion, it's a bad idea. Is it something that I'm going to, dread and be like, oh my, after it happens, be like, oh my God, worst day of our lives, guys. We just got 3 of the biggest game announcements we'll ever get all in the same conference. No, obviously, I'm not going to do that. I think just from a general, letting each of them have their own time, it's a mistake. I feel like that's why I've always said, announce Batman before. And then that way, when you announce the rest, you can show Batman. That can kind of be different because it's standing out, because it's gameplay, and then the other 2 you can do trailers. Now, that kind of answers my question. What do I expect to see from Rocksteady's game? It does depend, but if you ask me on just any given day, you wake me up one day and you say, what do you think we're going to see from Rocksteady? I would tell you a trailer, and I'd probably just tell you a trailer. Again, the timelines are super, super hard to predict, because if you would have asked me, a month and a half ago, really before all this kind of stuff happened, I would have told you that I would have still fully expected you announce, or at least you make it clear that Batman is real, that the Warner Bros. Montreal game is real. You go into E3, this again was, let's say before E3 was canceled, right? You go into E3, Warner Bros. Has their thing, they show this Batman game. I don't know how they do it, because they would have their own conference, right? So they'd have their own live stream show, whatever. Maybe you show a 5-minute thing, or maybe you show, I don't know, a trailer that has gameplay mixed in with CG elements, or whatever you do. But again, you've already shown it. You already talked about it. So, again, we're kind of just seeing an old friend. With Harry Potter and with Rocksteady, I really don't see how you get more than just a trailer. I really don't, because it's very uncharacteristic. And we talked about it, right? Very uncharacteristic of Warner Bros. To announce these 3 games at the same time, because they don't do that, because 2 of these games, at least at this point, it could be all 3, 2 of these games are probably a year out. Now, the Rocksteady game could come out in February or March next year. Harry Potter could come out next June. So it doesn't have to be next holiday season, right? It doesn't have to be a year and a half away, which would be, again, very, very far for a Warner Bros. Kind of game. But I would imagine those 2 games are at least 2021 games, okay? That's a very long time, by the way, for Rocksteady's development cycle, because they would have been making the game for over 6 years, or about 6 years when it releases. So that would be absolutely insane. But you know what? At this point, I would absolutely believe it. But if you ask me now, again, it's difficult, because what's happened with this Batman game? What's happened with Warner Bros. Game? Or Warner Bros. Montreal's game? Is it still happening in the fall? I've not given up hope on it. I'm still going to call it Batman Arkham 2020 until something changes, and then I'll call it 2021. I'll just keep moving the year for the next 15 years until we get the game. And honestly, I think that's what a lot of people have done even since 2018. But does that happen? Does that happen in the fall, or does that get pushed? And if it gets pushed, does that influence at all what you would show of these 3 games? Because in my opinion, the plan for Warner Bros. Should be this. It should be announce all of the games, but you put the most into the game that's the closest. And honestly, I feel like that's what a lot of studios do, especially when it comes to E3 time. You will get those games that you just get the quick trailer, and then games that are closer to coming out, you get more things. I mean, just look at Sony, look at Microsoft's, look at anybody's E3 or really anything, Gamescom, all different conventions that they go to, right? Look at them all, and that's what happens. Games that are further out get mentions, they get nods, they get short trailers just to show like, hey, they're real. Hey, this is maybe the year they're coming out in, all that kind of stuff. And then maybe, after the show, maybe you hear from them where they talk a little bit more about it. And that's another thing. That's definitely another thing to keep in mind. And we're in a nice spot too. Even the YouTube channel is in a nice spot too, right? Because I think we really are going to get stuff like that. We're going to get, okay, well, Rocksteady's going to show, say, a very short, like minute and a half trailer or whatever they're going to do. That's it. That's it, because Batman will come first, and then Rocksteady would come after. And as the year continues to go on, and as 2021 goes on, depending on when the game comes out, we would get more and more and more as it progresses. But at the same time, after the show, maybe we would hear from Rocksteady. Maybe we would hear from the creative director, from the game designers, from all that kind of stuff, from somebody. I'm sure there will be a couple people somewhere that'll tweet, that'll give statements to different websites, and we probably will hear a bit more information about the game from them. We may even be able to get more from them than we will the actual trailer, which, as the internet age has continued and as gaming has become more like that, that is what we've honestly seen. Sometimes you can get more from statements given from companies, from different people on these games than you can from the very short game trailers themselves, right? You can get more from the after talk than the game itself. But ask me a month ago, ask me now. I really, specifically for Rocksteady, I don't see how it changes to more than a trailer. Now, is that disappointing? To me, it's not. To me, it honestly isn't, because I think just like with Batman, and again, because we've put so much focus into Batman, we leave Rocksteady, basically, I think a lot of people, I'm really the only one who makes any Rocksteady videos, we leave Rocksteady alone because they're very secretive. They've been working on it for a very, very long time. As far as we know, there hasn't really been any internal problems. It's possible there could have been, because again, if the game releases, say, next June, that's 6 years. They probably would have started even before Arkham Knight came out. So maybe 6 to 6.5 years they've been thinking about this game. That's a very long time. Not to say that there is development teams that don't do that. You look at CD Projekt Red. They take around that amount of time as well. So there are teams that take that long. It's very possible that nothing has gone wrong. It's also possible that there has been some problems. But people generally leave them alone because we all focus on Batman. And to be honest with you, that's kind of the approach that I feel like Warner Bros. Will end up taking when it comes to this. People will be excited for Rocksteady. People will be excited for this Harry Potter game. Ranking them will be insanely exciting. And I've talked about it, right, teasing before, like which one am I most looking forward to. I go, honestly, if you ask me at different points of different days, I probably would give you a different answer, because all 3 of them excite me in just amazing ways, and they're all 3 going to be pretty darn different games. But when it comes to Rocksteady, I really think a trailer would probably be enough. I think it would, again, be a signal of, okay, well, this is what the game is. Like, we know what the game is. We can rest assured that it's coming, that we know a little bit about it. And then, again, when game trailers release, it kind of opens the flood, and we've talked about this, right? It opens the floodgate for a lot more to come out afterwards. That's why, especially when it comes to this Batman game, that's why I'm so excited, and that's why, we're asking, like, can we get the trailer? And we've asked it for years, right? But when we do get the trailers for these things, even just a teaser trailer, the door's open. We now know they're making it. And for Rocksteady, again, people haven't really ever focused on them, but it'll be nice to know what game they're making, because now you can talk about it. You can talk about it without people here, the negative Nancys here, getting mad at you and saying you don't even know the game exists. Well, now we know that the game exists. We know what game it is, and now we can just talk about it. We can speculate. We can talk about different gameplay things, story things. They are going to give us more info as time goes on. It's a really, really nice thing, and we're getting ever so close to it. But I do think, and it's the same thing for Harry Potter. I honestly believe the same thing. My prediction and I still, again, believe they're going to do an online thing. I think they're going to put most of it towards Batman. I would expect more than just a trailer for Batman. I want gameplay. I will say I want it. I think we will end up getting it too, because that is the closest game. You got to put more into the game that's closer, because you got to sell it. And then once that game comes and passes, then you can focus. It's the same thing with movie industries. Why does Marvel really only focus on one Marvel movie at a time? Because you don't want to take away steam from it if you start moving on to the next thing. I mean, it makes a ton of sense, and every industry does it. You do it the same thing for games. You focus on Batman. You still show the trailers for the other games. And Harry Potter is kind of a rarity, right? Because it's kind of outside of the superhero genre. So maybe you can show a little bit about that without being afraid that's going to steal some of your thunder. But I don't think you can show that much of Rocksteady, because Rocksteady and the Batman, the Warner Bros. Montreal's game, they're very close to each other. I mean, they're not going to be exactly the same, but I mean, come on, they're not even competing companies, but a lot of people look at it like that, especially outside people. Outside people still think that Rocksteady is the one making the Batman Arkham game, and not like people are that not necessarily clueless, but people don't know, because Arkham Knight, Arkham City is looked upon by a lot of people as like the best one. These all came from Rocksteady, right? So a lot of people just think that. I bet you some people think Arkham Origins came from Rocksteady. I do think there's people out there, so people do get confused, and you don't want to make them more confused. So you got to be very careful how you announce both of those games. And again, I think we'll see it very, very soon. At this point, guys, we're into April, right? This is April 1st. Happy April Fool's Day to you guys. Hopefully you haven't been pranked by anything out there. But we could be just around 2 months away from finally being able to see at least some of these things. I really, really hope we are. But let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think? Do you think we're going to just see a trailer from them? Do you think we would see more from Rocksteady's game? Let me know. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And again, thank you so much for watching. If you guys want me to make more Rocksteady-specific videos speculating what the game could be, stuff like that, let me know your suggestions for videos you want to see in the comments, and I will absolutely do it, okay? Stay safe out there, guys. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.